Hey, what's up? This is Cody the Coin Raptor, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about an absolute bombshell that dropped today, affecting the entire crypto community. But before we get to that, be sure to subscribe, be sure to hit that like button, and follow me on Twitter, now X, and share this video. So what happened today dropped the Bitcoin price by about 4%, okay? Ethereum down 3% in 24 hours. And the big one here, BNB, Binance Coin, down almost 14% in 24 hours. Okay, so what happened here? We had Changpeng Zhao, the CEO of Binance, has resigned, okay? And he's pled guilty to Department of Justice charges. In fact, he made a post earlier today about stepping down as CEO of Binance. Now, we know that the SEC and now the DOJ have been very eager to prosecute these crypto companies and these exchanges. And so the idea here that CZ would have to step down in order for Binance to either continue operating in the U.S. or continue operating globally is not all that surprising, in my opinion. But this is an absolute massive turn of events right now. And quite frankly, we'll have to see how this really affects the crypto markets. As I mentioned before, we have significant changes in the last 24 hours with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and especially with Binance Coin. But what happened here basically is the fact that the Department of Justice has gone and decided to seek $4 billion from Binance in order to end this criminal case. Okay, so this is kind of a resolution of sorts, and it sort of remains to be seen if this is actually going to wind up being the end of it. There's been some negotiations apparently back and forth between CZ and the Department of Justice, and it definitely seems like this is not the end of it. I really don't think that. I think we're probably going to wind up seeing more cases against crypto companies and especially with CEOs. I do think Binance is going to be able to recover from this. I do think that Binance will continue to operate as an exchange globally, maybe not in the US. They might have to get rid of the Binance US branch for now and then maybe bring it back in the future. But I do think that Binance is still going to come out of this okay and will continue to operate. Okay, so this is just huge news right now. And if we go ahead and take a look at how that's affected our Bitcoin charts here, we can see this big old red candle right here. This, again, down over 4%, even though we've recovered a little bit from this. Now, what's really interesting about this is the fact that even after having such a massive kind of bombshell dropped on the crypto market, that we've only seen Bitcoin come down about 4%. Now, if we want to go ahead and compare this to another Black Swan event, we can compare this to another significant action that happened back in November. Back in November, we had the complete destruction and meltdown of FTX. Now, this was obviously a Black Swan event that was larger than today, but we saw that during that month that Bitcoin fell 16%, and the next month it fell by another almost 4%, so almost 20% move off of that news. Now, we're still kind of early in what we're seeing, the market reaction so far. But honestly, I think it's been kind of muted. And it seems to be that the broader market seems to have kind of accepted this and taken it in stride. Okay, so we could see some more selling. It's definitely possible, but I don't think we're going to wind up seeing a 20% drop like we saw back then for FTX. I do think the crypto market's going to stabilize quite a bit, and we're gonna basically come back from this. And especially coming into the halving next year, that's where most of the eyes, most of the focus is going to be. Now, I also want to go ahead and preface this by saying, just because CZ stepped down and just because they reached this $4 billion settlement, this does not mean that crypto is dead. These crypto companies, these exchanges, and the actual crypto underlying assets are entirely separate. Okay, so just because they're having issues with Binance doesn't mean something's wrong with Bitcoin or something's wrong with Ethereum or something's wrong with, the stable coins, right? All that is still, the ecosystem built around those still exists. However, every now and then we're going to hit a little bit of a stumbling block, and we're going to wind up we're going to hit one of these events, at least with the DOJ, the SEC coming in. And this is likely going to continue as long as the current leadership remains at the SEC and at the DOJ. They're going to prioritize prosecuting crypto companies and charging them with, in Binance's case, they've charged the exchange with basically money laundering, and they've said that the exchange hadn't filed any reports based on illicit use on their platform. Yeah, so terrorist groups or black market funds, they haven't filed any sort of reports based off of that, and as a result, that's partially the case that the Department of Justice has brought against Binance. Okay, so we shall see how things turn out, but I think that the crypto market will, again, we'll get over this hump, we will strengthen, and I do think Bitcoin is going to continue to head much higher, as well as Ethereum as well. And Binance Coin, however, I think is probably going to wind up being a little bit more muted, especially as Binance continues to take hit after hit after hit. I do think that Binance Coin itself is probably going to be continuing under pressure. Right now, it's back down to 228. So I also want to go ahead and follow up on what I talked about yesterday, and that is the Kraken exchange. So I was actually doing a little bit of research on Reddit about our cryptocurrency threads, and specifically about Kraken's last audit. So this post right here, very interesting information here. They basically, the user here, GR8FUL4, they posted basically that the last time that the exchange Kraken had an audit was in June of 2022. Okay, and then they have this done by this firm, Armanino. Okay, so if you click on this, it'll take you right here to this Armanino, and then from here you can download the report, and you can see what that audit found. And actually, if you scroll down, you can kind of see an abridged version here of the ratios, and most of these are well above 100%. Like, for instance, ADA, 101%, BTC collateral, 102%. So basically, you have assets that are in excess of liabilities. But if you go ahead and take a look at the report itself, the last page of the report here, you can see it kind of broken down by individual holdings, and then client liabilities and in-kind assets, and then the collateralization ratio. So this is all kind of laid out, and the issue laid out by the user here is basically saying, okay, well, this is old, right? It's from June of 2022. That was a while ago, right? It's well over a year. Things could have changed since then. And then they're also missing some coins like XMR as well. Okay, so this may not be a totally complete, wholly 100% audit, and they have not had an audit since then. Okay, now I have no reason to believe that there's any sort of issues with Kraken. There is smoke, right? We have yet to see whether or not this will turn into a fire. Okay, but there is a little bit of smoke, and I would say, that in the case of crypto, and especially these unregulated private companies, that if there's even just a little bit of smoke, then if I were in Kraken, I would at least consider moving my assets to someplace a little bit safer in the meantime while I wait for this to kind of blow over. But again, I'm not accusing Kraken of anything. We're going to see how things play out, but just know that the last audit they had was in June of 2022. That's the most up-to-date information I can find. If you guys find anything that's more up-to-date than that, definitely let me know. Leave a comment below. And then finally, I want to go ahead and leave today's video off on a more bullish side. We're going to actually talk very quickly here about Argentina and their new elections. So they had a new president, President Javier Milei. Okay, and so he is kind of he's a hardcore capitalist. Okay, he's talked about getting rid of their currency in Argentina and instead going back to the U.S. dollar. All right, and now there is speculation that Argentina could potentially, just like El Salvador, go towards a Bitcoin standard. Okay, so that would be very interesting. This is listed here on Forbes. Okay. Now, it's very interesting to think about that, because if we have another country, just like El Salvador, that decides to go to a Bitcoin standard, okay, and decides to make it a legal currency, you can see the dominoes will start to fall, and more and more and more countries will follow, okay? And it says here in the article that basically it can happen sooner than you think. Okay. According to Samson Moe, chief executive of Bitcoin technology company Jan3 and advisor to El Salvador during its adoption of Bitcoin. Okay. Another nation state will be adopting Bitcoin very soon. That's what he posted. And Mexico is on the list of countries that could adopt Bitcoin. So again, if we wind up seeing something like this happen, the demand for Bitcoin is going to go up. And on top of that, the use case of the blockchain will increase. You'll wind up seeing more people adopting it as a digital gold, okay? And we'll wind up seeing a rally right back in the price, like back in 2021, 2022, when El Salvador wound up adopting it as their legal currency. Okay, so this is something very interesting. I'll be following this. I'll give you guys an update if I find any more information about it. But this is just fantastic information, especially when it comes to Bitcoin and adoption. You guys know I'm all about Bitcoin adoption, and any stories we start talking about Bitcoin adoption really gets me fired up. All right, so that's all I've got for you guys. Let me know what you guys think about this adoption. If you think that Argentina could potentially go to a Bitcoin standard, leave a comment below, and I will catch you guys in the next video.